Welcome back to NBA The Block Party. We are on episode 18. Bit of a different format this week, changing it up. Got a lot to talk about with NBA offseason, free agency. I am joined by the one and only King Wells, co-host of the show. How's it going, dude?
It's going very well on this beautiful Canada Day, July 1st. Happy Canada Day to you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Yes, happy Canada Day for all our fellow Canadians out there. And we got a lot to dive into. So we are going to start off today's segment with a few different things, but I wanted to get into kind of a segment that we're calling Life of the Party. So we probably will start with this and then work our way back to it. But let's get into Life of the Party.
So who do you think the life of the party is this week?
Well, I think this week it's probably going to the big story, obviously, in the NBA is going to have to be the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant, right? So that kind
I think you got that pretty good.
Pretty bang on. Yeah, so that kind of caught us, I think kind of caught the league by storm. How it started, obviously, which is to give some backstory, is we had kind of a bit of a report that the Nets weren't really interested in giving Kyrie Irving that 4-year extension or 3-year extension, whatever it was. A lot of rumors about Kyrie possibly going to LA on that mid-level exception, the $7 million. We eventually saw him opt into his Brooklyn Nets deal, so the last year of his contract. So I at that time, I would say that most of us were kind of thinking that Brooklyn was probably running this back one more year, and then we would see kind of what happens. Whether that means, extending Kyrie to kind of prolong or to play alongside Durant for the rest of the 3 years, or if they were going to just see if they did poorly in the playoffs, they'd probably let him go. Whatever it was, we kind of assumed that there'd be probably one more year in Brooklyn. Now, the other night, we get a story that Kevin Durant's requested a trade. So obviously, things are a lot worse than we kind of anticipated, than what we thought.
Oh, yeah.
With everything that's been kind of talked about in regards to the Brooklyn Nets, everything that you've seen, what's your thoughts on like how this has played out so far, and where do you think this ends up?
Well, I think, okay, first I'll say where I think this ends up, and I think it ends up with the Brooklyn Nets finishing the year without Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. I mean,
Wow.
Or starting the year, I think, without both of those guys. It sucks, man. It sucks for the Nets. I mean, they were kind of in heaven 2 years ago, or however long it was, when those two players come down, and then for it to be such a, what is it, like a garbage fire or whatever,
Right.
For it to end like this is just so, it's so brutal. I feel for Sean Marks, the GM. I feel for Steve Nash, the coach. But also, I think what it shows a lot is that Kevin Durant knew that Kyrie had one foot out the door.
Sure.
And, opting into the last year of your contract, it's 1 year, right? And what would have happened is next year he'd be a restricted or unrestricted free agent. So
Right.
he would have been gone anyways. And I think Kevin Durant said, well, why even stick around? It's kind of crazy that he does it, but the more you think about it, the more it's like, why would he stick around if that's what he's sticking around for? So, I don't want to hate on him or anybody, but this is just crazy. It's just crazy.
Now there's speculation out there. So kind of how a lot of people anticipated, I think, was that you saw Kyrie opt in, and then you saw Durant request the trade. But from my understanding, in the back end here, this isn't a matter of Durant not wanting to play with Kyrie Irving. This is something completely different. This is a matter of the Brooklyn Nets not respecting the duo of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. The reports that I'm reading today, or at least as of this morning, are that Kevin Durant is more than happy to be shipped off with Kyrie Irving and play with Kyrie Irving still. So from my understanding, this is actually a product of basically the Brooklyn Nets not paying Kyrie and Kevin Durant saying, well, that's what you signed up for. If you're not paying him, I'm out. So that's, from my understanding, kind of what's going on. There's been some clips circulating of Kyrie kind of speaking post-Boston Celtics first-round sweep, talking about how me and Kevin are kind of going to run this organization and we're going to work with the ownership to kind of build this team. So I think a lot of people in the Nets, from my understanding, got scared when this kind of was brought back into the light after the year they've had, because they've given these guys a lot of reign to make decisions, like the DeAndre Jordan asset. That wasn't something the Brooklyn Nets even wanted to explore, but they were kind of peer pressured into it by these two. Um, my question for you is, what's the likelihood that Kyrie and Durant get shipped together in a package? Do you think that's more likely or less likely? And I'll give you kind of my reasoning to why I'm asking you that and what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably less likely just because of the magnitude of the players that you're trading,
Sure.
but definitely not impossible. Um, if I'm the Nets, I'd probably rather ship them off separately to maximize each of their values. And that's really at the end of the day, the Nets are in the driver's seat right now, except for the fact that they have to trade them.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I'd say probably more likely that they're separately.
Um, who would be the so then my follow up question would be, who would be the team that is willing to explore a Kyrie Irving trade? Because to me, I can't even think of a single team out of the 30 that would do it.
Well,
Besides the
I can
Lakers,
think of
obviously.
one.
Well,
Yeah.
sure, but here's my thing. I don't. My thought process on this is I don't see a world in which the Brooklyn Nets accept a deal to get Westbrook back for
Same.
just straight up Kyrie, right? So, but what I'm thinking here is that the Lakers have a little bit of leverage, in my opinion. They went from having pretty much zero leverage to a lot of it in the sense that they can offer Davis in this package. And they'd be one of the only teams that can actually offer Anthony Davis and Westbrook to match the salaries of Kyrie and Kevin Durant. So I guess the advantage for Brooklyn of taking that and shipping them off together to a team like LA, in my opinion, would be you're getting probably the best asset you can get out of any of these players, which would be Anthony Davis back, which him and Ben Simmons alone is a pretty good core to kind of build around in for the kind of the future. And since they don't have their draft picks, they're going to want to stay pretty relevant and they're going to want to be competitive. On top of that, Westbrook's $40 million would come off the books next year, and then you have room to potentially sign a pretty big contract to come in and play with those guys. So, am I crazy, or did the Lakers go from having zero leverage to a lot of leverage after yesterday and that Durant move?
I don't know if I would say a lot of leverage. I think they have definitely more leverage when it comes to Kyrie than any other team because that's clearly where he wants to go.
Sure.
But I think if they're trading Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, I think they can probably do better than Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook.
Can you give me an example of what you would deem more valuable than that package? And I'm not valuing Westbrook in the sense of his like him. I'm valuing him in the sense that he's a $40 million off the books next season packaged with Anthony Davis. So just keep that in mind. I'm not valuing Westbrook like, to value him like to play alongside those guys. It's more to clear the money to get someone to come play with those guys is my logic. But what would in your eyes be a more valuable package than Anthony Davis and $40 million cleared? Because I was trying to think of this yesterday and I was like, damn, that's pretty hard to beat. Like that's pretty hard to beat. Suns, from my understanding, don't want to let go of Booker. I mean, I have a Toronto package that's really really intriguing, and I'm sure it's probably pretty similar to yours. But they're one of my teams
my
on
Toronto
there.
package would be only for Durant. I don't want Irving too.
Sure, sure, and that's kind of that's fair enough, and that's kind of what my package enticed as well. But then it's like, what are the Nets gonna do with Kyrie at that point after that? So wouldn't that's why I'm thinking it'd be in their best interest to ship him and get that cleared salary. I guess Kyrie's coming off the books as well, so
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
it wouldn't really matter. But I'm thinking if you could get a young piece back in that bundle. So like the package I had for the Lakers was like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and either Seth Curry or Royce O'Neal. I don't think they traded Royce O'Neal because they just traded a pick to get him. So probably it'd be like more like Seth Curry. But then you could get like a THT, Anthony Davis, Westbrook, and some picks back. Kind of is what I was
Yeah, you'd have to throw
getting
in
at.
the two picks that they can trade. Yeah,
Sure.
for
So
sure.
that's kind of where I'm ballparking it. My Toronto scenario, however, was just a straight up Durant trade. I don't know if you want to get into that right now, or if we could maybe do that more with the buy, sell, hold kind of segment. But I mean, the Durant thing is just so big right now that I feel like this is going to warrant most of our episode. Like, when have we seen a trade of this magnitude really ever, right? So come up, a trade request, especially with 4 years left, no player option. I think that's the most interesting piece of this. Like, in my eyes, bro, and sorry to kind of ramble on here, but in my eyes, is it possible to see like all 30 teams make a like, from my understanding, like 4 years left, no player option with a guy like Kevin Durant, that's valuable even to a team like Sacramento. Now, I don't think
It's
Sacramento's
valuable
going to
to any team in the league.
Right.
There's no way. There's no way. If you're a GM in the NBA and you haven't called about this,
Right.
then you're not doing your job.
Sure, fair enough. So you would safely assume that probably all 30 teams have made a phone call.
Either have or will in the next 24 hours. Yeah.
Sure. What's your okay? So like, I want to dive into the Toronto piece here
Sure.
because big thing for me, and I'm just gonna switch over to the gameplay feed here, guys, so you can see what I have pulled up. And we'll stay on screen as well. But I'm just on NBA.com here, and I have Kevin Durant landing spots. So we got three big headliners, and this was the story was printed last night. So the three big ones on NBA.com right now are the Suns, the Heat, and third place they have the Raptors. Now, I didn't see that until before we went live, but I saw it got processed last night, and apparently that is the OG Anunoby trade kind of that people are lurking. But I guess this would be my package if I'm the Raptors. I'm bundling
Sure.
OG and Trent. I would throw Trent in there if we have to get this done, and I'm also throwing a slew of picks because at the end of the day, this is what I know for certain: OG will never be Kevin Durant, never. And to
Hey,
get
listen, you don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
I think Toronto does that in a heartbeat, but I don't think
Right,
that's enough for
right.
the Nets.
No,
No, so mine is similar,
okay,
but I give the Nets the option of taking Siakam instead of either
interesting.
Trent or OG,
Wow. Okay.
and then throwing in Joe Harris
Okay.
because I think they're going to want to get off his contract.
Fair enough. I think so
And
too.
then the 3 picks and the 2 pick swaps in between. Like that's
Wow.
literally the best offer I'm giving them. I don't feel great about it,
Wow, that's a lot though.
but it's
That's
Kevin
more than I
Durant.
was. Yeah, no, exactly. It's Kevin Durant. So you
But
would be
that
willing.
would be the best. I'm not even saying that I would do this trade, but that is like literally the best offer I can imagine
Sure.
that I would be talking about.
So Siakam, OG, and picks.
Yeah. The tough thing for me is that if Kevin Durant's 30 years old, I have a lot easier time swallowing this. But considering he's 34 and like you're right, this isn't the Kawhi trade. He's got years left on contract. Like that's definitely a factor, but there's kind of two sides to it because in his last year he's going to be what, 37, 38 years old getting paid like $55 million.
Right.
And I'm not, I don't think Kevin Durant's going to have a really steep drop off all of a sudden, but he might, or to be even more harsh is he doesn't have the best injury history in the last couple of years. I don't think that's going to get better, it might not get worse, but it might not get better over the next 3-4 years. So that's tough, man. You got to think about it when you're making a trade like this. But again, you don't get a chance to get Kevin Durant very often. So it's a, whew, I don't know how I feel about it, but that's the best I can put on the table at least.
In my opinion, if you're willing to give up OG and Siakam in that deal, I think that puts the Raptors right at the forefront of
I think
this
so
this
too.
race. I think
I think so too.
if Masai is willing to make the moves,
Ideally, it'd be Siakam and Trent,
that's what I'm
ideally.
thinking, right? Because I think
But I don't know if Brooklyn does that. If they
right,
wanted Trent and OG, like you said, I'm not even thinking about it.
sure,
It
wow,
says that they want an all-star, and so
mm.
I think you kind of have to. And I'm not even talking about Scotty Barnes. Like for me,
Oh, of course
I've read
not.
some people thinking you got to
No,
put him on there.
no,
It's not even a question for me. And
no,
again, if Durant was 29, 28, I might consider it, but it's 34. It's just not happening.
no. Scotty ain't going nowhere. That's
And to be
that's
quite
for sure.
honest, the one of the kind of secondary values of the championship we won is that we've already done this move where you put all your chips in, or put your chips in and swing for the fences for a year or two window of a title.
Right.
We've done that already, so I don't think the Raptors should feel pressure to do that, win that kind of championship again, or try to win that kind of championship again. The next challenge, I think, as a franchise for the Raptors, anyways, if you ask me, is to win the organic championship. Where you build it from the ground up, which is kind of what we're doing right now.
Sure.
So I don't feel as much pressure to make that move. It's fun to
Imagine it.
consider it, and I do think the Raptors potentially have one of the better packages in the league.
That's and I mean, hey, like if I didn't think the Raptors actually had a serious shot at this, I wouldn't even really be talking about it. But if you're in the top three likely spots on NBA.com the day after the breaking news with the Suns and the Heat right there, it's got to be worth mentioning. On top of that, for what it's worth, Kevin Durant was on Dave Letterman's show on Netflix a few months ago, and it was probably filmed a little bit before that. But he spoke on. Dave asked him what some of his favorite places to play in the NBA were, and I think the first thing he said was Toronto.
I love it. I love the idea of KD in Toronto.
Doesn't it just seem like the
It's electric.
actual perfect fit? We've been trying to draft a Kevin Durant for the last how many freaking years, bro? Masai has been trying to draft Kevin Durant and Giannis for how
Well,
many of said years? Bruno
we did with
Cabloclos.
Bruno.
I mean, look at these lanky wings we always like. Kevin Durant is that player. Like that's the thing. If we can get him, I'm with you, man. Now I wasn't ready to come on here and say Siakam and OG. I thought you would roast me for that. The fact that you're willing to say that and put that on the board for
I'm willing to put it out there.
well,
I'm willing to get roasted for
well,
it too. But it's KD.
well, exactly. And here's my thing. I've been talking to some Raptors fans last couple days.
All right.
Raptors fans get very emotional and they get very attached.
All fans. Do
Okay.
that.
All fans do that, but there's something about Raptors fans that we get way too attached to people. And I think one thing that you need to do when you're looking at your team, especially a team that you're cheering for, is you need to separate the emotional aspect. And to me, that's what embodies Masai. Masai is not Masai is very good about separating his emotions from. Now, it's very hard to do. It's easier said than done. Like if you draft a player, you're obviously going to have some sort of an emotional attachment to them and feel a little bit closer to them in some respects. But the fact that you're sitting here telling me that you're willing to put Siakam and OG in a package with picks to get Kevin Durant, it has to speak to the greatness of Kevin Durant, first of all, but also B, it speaks to the fit that Durant, because if you slide Durant into our lineup, right, with guys like Scotty and Fred, now I was kind of picturing if we could somehow keep Siakam in there, that would be so ideal, but
Yeah, for sure it would be.
right, but if just say we can somehow
But
get away with Trent
to
and
be
OG,
honest, I'd rather keep OG than keep Siakam. I love Siakam.
for sure. Yeah, no, I'm with you, but I mean, like, so if they would prefer if we could do Siakam and Trent, like, are you?
I'm
Yeah,
doing it.
right. So in your eyes, OG before Siakam, but if you're Brooklyn, are you taking Siakam or OG?
Well,
That's the thing.
Before I read that they wanted All Stars, I was thinking there's no way they're going to want Siakam. But I reading the report that they want All Stars, plural. Maybe they do. Maybe they do want Siakam.
Right.
If I'm the Nets, I think I'd definitely want OG and over Siakam. But I'm just, maybe if they're just talking about, overall ratings, NBA 2K style and star power, then
Right.
maybe they would be interested in Siakam.
The other package that we got to speak about, so like for me, this would be my most ideal place for Durant. Like as much as I want Durant and Irving to go to LA, and I think that would probably be my number one choice, quite frankly. But how fun would it be to watch Kevin Durant in Toronto, first of all, and then that would actually open the door maybe for Kyrie to head to LA to play with AD and Bron. And I think that could be a lot of fun too, even if those two were to separate.
I actually kind of hope Kyrie finds his way to LA, and
Yeah.
that's as a Raptors fan, because that would be the most plausible way that we could somehow get some revenge on those fucking Cavs teams.
First of all, great point. I didn't even think of that, but great point. And how fun would it be to have a Toronto? I'm just gonna put this. I'm gonna manifest this right now. Toronto Raptors, led by Kevin Durant, in the finals versus
Even if
LeBron
we don't
James
have
in the
Kevin
Kyrie
Durant.
ring. Hey, man, I'm putting it out there. I think the Raptors are in heavy contention for him. I think if they're willing to put Siakam on the block, I think that changes everything
they are.
because at the end of the day, bro, the only package I'm thinking here. So like Miami is saying they don't want to give up Bam. Suns are saying they don't want to give up Booker. So is the Suns package Ayton, Bridges, and pick swaps?
I think it has to be. Yeah, I think it has to be.
And then what's the package if you're the Heat? Tyler Hero
I don't think the Heat
and
have nearly
Kyle
enough.
Lowry. Like, dude, no, the Heat can't get this done. And first of all, why are they tripping about Bam? Like, if I can get Kevin Durant,
I don't even believe that.
yeah, like I don't know. That's what I read. I could see the Suns tripping about Booker more before I could see the Heat tripping about Bam. But from my understanding, the
Me
Heat.
too. Although if I'm the Suns, I think I'm throwing Booker in there. How do you feel about that?
I mean, that's a hard one for me. I think that the idea is to get Booker and KD on the floor together.
I get it. I get
Right.
it. But I think if you could, obviously, I'd rather send out Aiden and Bridges, but honestly, Bridges hurts. But I'd rather send out Aiden and Bridges than Booker. Um, I get that, but if you don't and you're sending out Booker and then maybe some cap filler, um, you still got CP, and you got Kevin Durant, then you got Aiden. You just re-sign him, and you got Bridges. I mean,
how do you
that's
feel?
really nice.
How do you feel about this? I'm on NBA.com right now, and I'm looking at the article. I scrolled down to Toronto, and it is what we were basically saying. If it comes down to Scotty Barnes,
No,
but listen, let's hear me out. If it comes down to Scotty Barnes and no Siakam and no OG, then what?
no.
Really?
Yeah, because honestly, and maybe, maybe I'll get roasted for this too, but honestly, for me, I love Kevin Durant, but in my mind, this is like a 2-year window trade. I know we got him, we would get him potentially for like 3 or 4 years, but he's 34 years old. He's coming off an injury, last year, a year ago, and
that to me, I've swept that under the rug though. After the
well,
Olympics and
I
last
can't.
season,
If you're talking about Scotty Barnes, who's 20 years old and he hasn't like top of the iceberg. He's not even out of the water yet. You know what I
sure,
mean?
no,
Like,
fair enough, and I think that's the one piece of your Toronto that you're trying to hold on to. But I'm just saying, if you're the Toronto Raptors and you trade Scotty Barnes, okay, and you pair OG, Siakam, Durant, all these guys, Van Vliet, and you win 2 titles in the next 4 years, is that not a success?
yeah,
Right? Like that's the
but
thing.
I don't think
so
that's guaranteed.
No, but no title is guaranteed at the end of the day. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, bro, when are we ever gonna have a chance to get Kevin Durant in his prime? Like,
Well, is he in his prime? I don't think he's in his prime. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that's an argument
He
a lot
got
of
swept
people.
in the playoffs last year.
Sure, but that to me, that I can overlook that. I'm not letting 4 games play with my emotions like that. I'm just
I'm
not
not
going to
letting
do
it
it.
play with my emotions. I'm just saying it's a factor for me.
I can go back
Where
to
he's at in his career, if he was 30 years old, again, if he's 30 years old, I'm considering it.
sure. I just think there's a lot of gas left in that tank. Let's go to the Olympics. He threw the whole team on his back, won the Olympic gold medal. That was coming off of a summer where he probably should have been resting after the injury. This last year in Brooklyn, he had a career best true shooting percentage from the floor. I mean, there's so many
It's a lot of
positives.
games too.
Sure, and I mean, but so did OG, right? For the last few years, like there's always ways you can look at this.
Scotty was rookie of the year.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm with you. Like, Scotty is I'm just saying, like, at a certain point, if Brooklyn gets fixated on that idea where they're willing to just then let us keep Siakam and OG, it's like,
But the other thing is we can't do it without trading a big contract.
So, yeah, right. So what have we talked about? What about like
Scotty's
an OG?
only $7 million, I think, or
Sure,
something like that.
sure. And have we talked about anything like OG and Fred? Is that something that you think Brooklyn would? Because again, Brooklyn isn't trying to
I don't know if they
tank,
would want
right?
Fred VanVleet.
But why? He's relatively young, and they're trying to stay competitive. They don't have their picks, right? So
Yeah.
they have no reason to want to lose in the next few years.
No,
reason.
I know, but I think if, in my opinion, I know Siakam's worth more, but
Sure.
it's if we're going with the big money stuff, they're gonna. It's, I don't know. I mean, you're right. Like Scotty Barnes and Fred VanVleet, maybe.
I know it's hard, but it's hard because of Scotty, right? Like I think that's the takeaway
for
here.
sure.
Like Scotty is the one piece you don't want to lose. It's clearly a franchise type piece that I mean, you can't put a ceiling on him yet, and that's what's scary about trading a piece like that. That's why you don't want to trade a piece like that, right? But I mean, a few years before that, we were also saying the same thing about OG, and now we're talking OG and Siakam for KD. So hindsight's always going to be 2020. I'm with you though. If you can keep Scotty, you got to do it. It's just, if you see a possible chance to contend, I don't know. I'm on the Durant train in Toronto. I think it's the perfect fit. I think it solves the half court offense problem in a snap of your fingers. I think there's so many benefits of having a guy like that in Toronto.
No doubt.
Like I mean, it would just be booming, and
So you would trade Scotty for him?
So like if it's Scotty and OG, hell no. But if you're telling me like if you're like okay, it's either an OG and Siakam package or it's a Scotty and Trent package, I'm thinking about it. Seriously, I'm thinking about it because OG is still very good and very young. Siakam is still very, very good and still under 30, right? And On top of that, as much as I love Scotty, it's like, well, let's think about when Durant's here. If we have guys like OG and Siakam around him, like that's huge. And to me, I think if you're asking me, well, are you picking between OG and Scotty? I'm picking Scotty. Are you picking between Siakam and Scotty? I'm picking Scotty. But I'm just saying, context of the situation, trade as a whole, I'm not eliminating anything when we're talking about Kevin Durant. But if I'm keeping one player, it's Scotty Barnes. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, me too then. Exactly.
Sure.
Same thing.
Sure. But I'm not ruling anything out. That's kind of my point. You know what I mean? Like I'm not ruling out the idea of trading Scotty. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would.
Fair. And I think that's probably, would you say that's probably the hardest part of this for Masai is like, that's who they're going to want, right? Like that's the hot ticket. Like that's the guy they want.
But you said yourself when just saying Pascal and OG,
right.
That's a really tough package to beat.
Right.
So why?
Right. Why?
I think we can already get one of the best packages without Scotty on the table, anyways.
Sure. Fair enough. Cool, man.
But it is tough. Obviously,
no, yeah.
That's why we're not paid the big bucks here.
Right. And there's a lot of stuff that comes into play when kind of taking into consideration a decision like this. Do you want to move into kind of our next segment, which would be party fouls? I mean, it probably kind of goes hand in hand.
A couple.
But let's move on to our next segment. We'll come back to the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant. This is the big hot story in the NBA, so we'll probably, without a doubt, be circling back to this. But
exactly, I'm sure whatever we talk about one way or another is going to lead back to it.
Right. So, but with that said, let's get into the next part of this, which is party fouls. Yeah, I mean, I'll let you start it off. Is there any people this week? Oh, sorry, I got to make sure the screen's changed. Is there any people this week or teams this week that you'd have it? Obviously,
I got a party foul. Charlotte Hornets, 2 felony charges in the last month.
Yep, saw that.
2 different players, and not even looking at that, their coaching, hiring, or mismanagement of that is just kind of hilarious.
Which is now Steve Clifford, right? Isn't it?
Well, yeah. Like we were laughing at James Borrego getting let go because we're like, well, who are they going to replace him with? You know, had some rumors of D'Antoni, had some rumors of Kenny Atkinson. Looks like thought it was going to be Kenny Atkinson. Then he said, you know what? No.
Right.
And then they go back to Steve Clifford, who's the guy they had before James Borrego anyway. So I don't know. Party foul to everybody involved with the Charlotte Hornets right now.
Yeah, seriously. What's the situation going to be like? Sorry, I'm seeing like huge glitches coming up on stream when I'm switching scenes here. So like I'm just trying to like improvise and get this working and make sure we're both not freezing. But it looks like there's some stuff going on right now.
Cool. I got a couple more party fouls if you want.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to follow up question with the Miles Bridges situation and ask you, how do you think that affects his contract, or does that affect his contract?
Because I think it kind of has to,
on the eve of
in this
free
political
agency,
climate, right? Like the way people see things right now. I mean,
right.
I think it will affect, because Harrell, I'm pretty sure, is a free agent too, unless I'm mistaken. But I would say Bridges, you know, what he's being charged with is probably, from the optics side of it, looks a lot worse than Harrell.
Right. Miles Bridges, Charlotte Hornets. So we had coaching decision and then also the Miles Bridges felony charge, right? So and Harrell. My question to you is, how does this, and this is kind of what I asked you before we lost the feed, but how does this affect Miles Bridges' contract, and does this have any effect on the Charlotte Hornets wanting to pay him a long-term deal? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know if it affects the Hornets wanting to pay him. I think probably deep down they still want him, but it's the optics of it might not look great, giving somebody a lot of money that just got charged with something like that.
Right.
So yeah, I think there's no question it's going to affect it somehow. The extent of it, I don't know. It was probably the worst possible timing. You know, if this could have happened 2 weeks later, contract would have been signed and everything. But yeah, I don't really want to say too much on how it could affect, because yeah, it's kind of a serious situation. But yeah, I think this will affect not only how the Hornets see him, but kind of the league too.
And does he lose money because of this? Like,
Might.
Damn, that's crazy. On the eve of free agency too. I mean, first of all, like like you said, it's a very serious situation, so it's hard to speak of and really to judge without we don't know what happened.
That's
We
the
don't know
thing.
the
I don't want to
context,
judge.
right?
That's the thing.
Right, and for all we know, it could be something that's totally blown out of the water, and he maybe wasn't even, and like who knows, right? But I'm with you. The eve of free agency, the timing of it, the coaching situation in Charlotte, you got to be feeling a little like, that's. But I think that definitely falls under party fouls. Okay, so you had another one as well, right? You wanted to talk
Yeah,
about?
man. The Nets wasting a pick on
Right.
Royce O'Neal right before Kevin Durant asked for a trade.
Right, right,
Brutal, just
brutal.
brutal.
Um,
They
I
had like no, they don't have a lot of picks to trade, and they just lost another one.
right, right. And was the reason to bring in a guy to help Kyrie and KD? Like that was their thought process, right?
He's actually a nice fit with those guys.
Yeah, yeah, that's tough. Do you think
Somebody I wanted the Raptors to go after.
I had one in my party fouls? Like I don't know how much you'd consider it a party foul because it's still a pretty good move, I think, on paper. I think, but do you think Atlanta's kind of punching themselves
Yeah, that was my third one.
a little bit for
even the Spurs as well,
right?
because
right.
maybe the Spurs would have liked to get DeJounte to Brooklyn.
Sure. Oh my gosh, the Spurs are really punching themselves because Durant, they could have shipped out Murray and a bunch of assets to maybe get.
Now the nice thing about the Spurs, like I mean, I know some people don't like that trade for the Spurs. I think actually for the Spurs it's a good trade. I've heard that DeJounte Murray did not want to sign an extension with them, so to be able to get 3 first rounders back for him, and Gallinari, who I know they're going to waive. I thought maybe they'd flip him, but whatever. Even if they waive him, uh, I think 3 first round picks is a pretty good haul, especially considering Spurs draft very well. And just this past draft, I think they were one of the winners with the way they drafted. They got at least 2, maybe 3. I think 3 good, solid players out of that draft. So I think they're going to be okay.
Right. And on the flip side, so Spurs are probably kind of like, damn, what do we do? And then Atlanta's probably in the same boat a bit too, right? Like kind of thinking, well, could we have paired Trey and KD together? Maybe could we have packaged a John Collins and some of these picks that we
would have been a
shipped?
real good start.
Right?
That would have been a real good start.
Right.
And 3 picks.
Yeah, John Collins, 3 picks. So you got to think that like this caught a lot of people off guard, and a team like for instance Toronto is in such a good spot in my opinion because they're kind of just sitting here and waiting, and they're
just sitting pretty.
Yeah,
we don't have to make a move.
Right. We're not pressured to do this, but it's like we have the flexibility, so we might as well explore that. So yeah, I think Spurs and Atlanta definitely fall into that party foul. I think that's we're kind of on the same boat with that. I mean, how could it not? And to their defense, like who could have saw this coming? I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. Like I'm sure
anybody saw this coming.
I mean, apparently Brian Windhorst and like some people knew this was in the works, but it's like how likely was it to break within the week or a few days after the Kyrie thing? Like there's so much here to unpack that it makes it kind of hard, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I think those teams are probably a little bit on the side of like, damn, what if we waited a few more days? Like, did we jump the gun too early? But how could you have known that KD, right, would have become available?
Yeah, and having said that, I do like that trade for Atlanta as well. I think DeJounte is a really nice fit next to Trae Young.
Yeah, and it's a good piece for them. Like they got to be pretty happy with it. A few days ago when they pulled it off, I was like, damn, they got Murray. Like I didn't think the Spurs were even trying to trade Murray.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that's it. But then it jumps from that to like, well, damn, should they have given that to Kevin Durant? So it's funny. And then like same thing with the Lakers. It's like, damn, Lakers really are stuck. What are the Lakers going to do? They have no power here. And then it's like, oh, damn, maybe they could trade Davis. So it just goes to show. And I think it's like a little bit of a warning to teams in a sense that it should be like within a day, like things can change drastically. Like you never know. The situation you're in might not be the situation you're in tomorrow. And
of course,
you the situation like in terms of like free agents this summer, who's available on the board, or who can we target, that could change within a week of something like this happening. So I think it's a little bit of a cautionary tale to some of these teams. And I think like the smart owners there, like like Masai's and guys who are patient will benefit because they can come in now and have less of a competition with the market. But I wanted to kind of touch on the other stuff going on in free agency as of now. I mean,
sure.
we could sit here and speculate 30 teams, 30 Durant trades, 30 scenarios. But to kind of cap this part of it, so I'm just going to head back into life of the party here. But can you just give me your three teams, your three most likely teams you see Durant going to? I think the Heat's a little bit of a not so sure on it, but I got Phoenix probably in my top three. Give me your
Well, I
top
think he
three.
said that he wanted to go to Phoenix.
Sure.
Right? It's on his list or
Sure,
something,
and
so you got to put it there.
Sure, and I think it's plausible with the assets they could move, possibly with what they have. But I have Toronto probably in my top three. I mean, NBA.com apparently does as well. But like, I think just based on their packages, who else would you slot in there? I don't have Miami in there for me, but do you have another team maybe that's going under the radar that's in the Durant sweepstakes?
Yeah, I do actually.
I'd love to hear it.
It's kind of psycho.
Is it Utah?
No. It's Oklahoma City.
That's interesting. And
because they literally have like 42,000 first-round picks.
Right.
And they can just absorb salary.
Right.
And while I think right now that may not be the best available trade for Durant if you're the Nets, you just can't beat cap flexibility and just a shitload of picks, and that's exactly what they have. So I would say, like you said, they're kind of a dark horse going under the radar.
Right.
But I keep an eye on them.
It'd be how fun would the storyline be of Durant returning, right? And I think he'd be
like
open to
that.
it. And I think he'd be open to it, honestly. Like as because like this is so like what's the package? Are they picks obviously, and then are they willing to trade Chet this early on without even playing him? Are they willing to trade Shea Gilgeous-Alexander? Are they willing to move Pokusevski? Like what's the package?
You gotta keep Shea because or else it just doesn't make sense to bring Durant in there.
Sure.
But yeah, maybe. I mean, if you're Brooklyn, definitely you got to ask for Chet or
Poku, Chet, picks.
Get a body back with all those picks. You know, that would make sense.
Right. And I mean, hey, that's a pretty good package too. When you think of it, like because of the amount of picks that Oklahoma can actually offer, that's what's enticing. Because first of all, Brooklyn doesn't have picks, so to get picks back would be like good for them. I think they're going to want some picks. Now they have other teams' picks, like from the James Harden deal and stuff. I think they have some of the Philly picks, but they don't have their own picks. I like it. It's an interesting dark horse, and the storyline of Durant returning to OKC would obviously be a lot of fun, right? But let's move on to. So we just came back to life at the party because I didn't really feel like we touched on it with the technical difficulty that part. But I want to now move into buy, sell, hold. I'm going to let you start and lead the way with maybe teams or scenarios or ideas that we're buying and selling and holding. So let's start with maybe a buy, if like an idea maybe that you're buying or.
Yeah, okay, I got a couple. Definitely in the buy, I think there's going to be a John Collins trade.
Okay.
Hearing a lot of rumors about it, and I'd be really surprised if that didn't happen. Probably, though, the only thing is any trades for the most part that we're talking about right now will not happen until the big domino falls, which is Kevin Durant.
Sure.
So
right. Why would it? Teams are going to wait.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that any trades that I'm talking about here, even if I'm saying they're likely, it doesn't necessarily mean I think we're going to see them anytime soon, depending on Kevin Durant.
Sure.
Because you don't want to waste that asset and be in the boat that the Spurs and the Hawks are in right now.
Okay.
But that's something I put in the buy. Another one, maybe a little bit more exciting, is I'm hearing rumors of Gallinari to the Celtics once he's waived by the Spurs, and I think that makes sense. I think that makes a lot of sense for them.
Because he was bought out, right? Wasn't he the other day?
I think they just waived him, but yeah. So if they waive him, that means that we got to wait a couple days for him to clear waivers. But yeah, I think Celtics make sense for him.
Do you have any more buys or so I'm with you. Like I don't see anything really going crazy here until the Durant thing gets sorted, because why would it? Teams are going to want to stay in the hunt, right? But I'm with you. Collins is probably that guy they were looking to move. They don't have flexibility to pull off a Durant trade now, obviously, but I mean,
Collins would be a good start for a Durant trade. Yeah, it'd be better if they had more picks to offer. But I think two, if I'm not mistaken, or at least one of the picks that went to the Hawks was not their own pick.
Okay.
So they're not, with the Stepien rule or whatever, they may still be able to trade away two more picks.
Right.
Because you know what I mean? So they don't have as much draft capital to trade, but they do have some. And honestly, John Collins is a really nice starting piece. I mean, you can do a lot worse than that. Just a baseline start to trade with.
Right. And it should be noted that the Hawks did make a trade today. They traded Kevin Herter,
to the Kings for
Harkless, Holiday, and a future pick.
and a pick, which they could use for sure.
And
By the way, Kings have made some nice moves.
honestly, I'm
It's like
really
they heard you, man,
yeah.
because
But you know what? You know what? I'm happy. I'm actually very happy, not for them as a team, but for their fan base because they no, they needed something, man. And honestly, like so, I'm opening up to the idea of Keegan Murray a little bit.
yeah.
I really like the Malik Monk deal they got. Malik Monk for dirt cheap.
Well, I think mid-level, I think.
Right. And I think he's a great fit for them. I mean, how could you not like that?
Well, he played with De'Aaron Fox at Kentucky. They're
Right,
back
right.
together.
Sure. Yeah, sure. That's a good point. And then, I mean, I think Herder to the Kings, like, I think that's a really good piece for them. So,
They
yeah,
got a
I mean,
bunch of shooters around Sabonis now. He's just going to kick it out. It's
sure,
really nice.
sure. And I mean, look, like, you got to give respect where credit's due. And I think they've made some pretty good moves considering things. I mean, I think that they're still going to never forgive themselves over the Tyrese Halliburton trade, but I think they're ready to compete at least, and it looks like they've built a little bit of a stronger roster. There's a few more big free agency things. Do you want to move into the buy sell hold of that? Like, could that fall into here, or like there's a big one here?
Like a rumor or something that happened?
Something that just happened like a few
Yeah.
hours ago. It was the Celtics got Brogdon
Yeah, for nothing.
from the Pacers. And what's your thoughts on that?
I think that's a steal. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest. Well, maybe not the biggest steals, but that is a steal in my book.
Right.
I know that what is it? Naismith is a young player. He could turn out to be pretty good, but
Right.
to get Brogdon for basically a pick,
Right.
I think that is a steal. I actually had I was going to suggest this before all the KD stuff broke, but I was going to suggest the Westbrook trade. That the Lakers trade Westbrook and 2 picks to Indiana for Brogdon and Buddy Hield. I think that would have done well for them.
Yeah,
And
that's
clearly I think Indiana would have accepted that because they just took 1 pick for Brogdon.
right. And that's also that was their alternative package that they had, right? Like that was like who they were planning on, like they could have got, I believe, if they didn't take Westbrook. Like there was a lot of Buddy Hield talk in the offseason,
but
right?
to get Brogdon in there too, I think would be just
Right.
a
Right.
nice, really nice for them. Really nice for them.
There's a few more
And I
deals.
think they'd even save money with that. I could be wrong. But I
well,
think that
what's
they'd even save a little bit of money.
not long term though, because Westbrook would be expiring.
No, I
right?
mean like the
per year.
tax this year.
Sure. What's I mean, there's one big, like not a big Toronto move, but a pretty nice Toronto move. I mean, Otto Porter was able to get
Super happy,
Toronto
man.
was able to get Otto Porter on a 2-year deal.
Super happy. Can't
Yeah.
believe that actually happened.
I know.
That was one of my guys. I wanted them.
Yeah, no, like first of all, perfect fit. I hate to lead this back into it, but does this give them any more flexibility to trade a guy like OG for it?
Well, for sure, it would make trading OG a lot more swallowable. That's for sure. That's for damn sure. But yeah, no, I'm really happy about Otto Porter. I think no matter what we do, I think that's a really nice fit. I think our number one guy we wanted to get was Malik Monk. You know, if I had to
Sure.
guess. But since he went to the Kings, I think they really jumped on the next one, which is Otto Porter. I'm super happy they did that, man.
Right. And honestly, defensively, I'd rather Porter, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I
Bigger
wanted
body.
scoring from Malik Monk, but
Yeah, it would have been nice. But I mean,
you can put Otto Porter in anywhere.
right. Porter's like, even to go back to his Washington days, he was an efficient catch and shoot player on the wing, and
Yeah, he was part of
elite-
the reason they swept us back then.
right, and elite defensively. I remember that actually. I actually remember that. Wow. But yeah, that's a great piece. I think he slots in perfectly. Who does he take minutes? Like, if this team stays intact as of now, who's he taking minutes away from? Like, do you? I see him probably about 20, 25 a night. Is that fair to say?
Would be nice. I think that's pretty manageable. I don't know if he's taking minutes from one person directly, but I think probably, anything that Kem Birch would have got, anything that Thad Young would have got.
Right. We did lock up Boucher for another 3 years. That should be.
Yeah,
should
no,
be
and
noted.
I think Boucher is gonna be very, very good, but I think Boucher will stick closer to the be more of a 5-4 rather than a 4-5 now.
Right.
And Porter, the nice thing about Porter is that he can play the 3 just as well as the 4. So basically, we had Utah Watanabe playing spot minutes, Svi Mikhailuk playing spot minutes. That ain't happening no more, and I'm all right with that.
I have breaking news.
Sure.
Utah is trading Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves. More to come.
Ooh, 4.
I'm not sure. Woj bomb just happened live, guys. Just happened live on the
Gotta
show.
be.
Utah is trading Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Sources tell ESPN. Just
It's gotta
broke.
be D'Angelo, right?
You'd think, because there's no way they lose Ant or Cat. Like, there's no
there's no
way.
way.
D-Lo to
I love the idea of Rudy Gobert and then like moving Cat over to power forward, the Twin Towers. I really
oh
like
my
that.
goodness, that's a big move.
It's ballsy, but I really like that.
I need to see who this is for. It's got to be D'Lo. Why would the Jazz do that? I don't know about that one for the Jazz, bro. Unless they're getting a slew of picks back or something. There's got to
I
be.
think they're probably getting picks back. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's interesting. So you think Cat at the 4 then?
Yeah, I do that in 2K all the time.
So they're really trying to build around. Wow. Does that change how you feel about Minnesota going into next year? It does for me.
I
With
like
an
them more. Yeah,
with
for
an
sure.
with an anchor like Gobert.
Oh, they'll shore up their defense that they really, really lacked.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was breaking. That came right from Twitter Woj to my phone. So
Probably, maybe Malik Beasley might be involved there.
yeah, he's got money. What's his contract? 15 ish.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we'll have to get the details on this deal. It just broke by Woj. I don't think there's details, but it's happened. So Gobert will be in a Timberwolves jersey next year. That's interesting, man. That's really, really interesting. That's gonna be fun to see them play next year. I'm actually excited for that. I think I think kind of Gobert was in need of a shakeup. I think Utah clearly doesn't. I think Utah is safe to say they're keeping Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, they're probably gonna build around him now.
And I mean, obviously we'll see what comes, but yeah, man, that's super interesting. Wow, crazy. Okay, well, let's see if there's anything else. I don't have any other news on that deal yet, but were there any other deals that were
That happened?
on your radar? Maybe.
Definitely nothing from of that magnitude. But I wrote down a bunch. Well, let's stick with the Timberwolves. They signed Kyle Anderson, and he was somebody I wanted the Raptors to go after. So I like that. I like that a lot. Big body that can kind of play all over the place. I think Kyle Anderson's undervalued in this league. So that was a good one. The Lakers have been pretty active free agency wise.
Right.
They made some nice moves.
They got Lonnie Walker. I saw.
Yeah, I really like that. Really like that. Clippers got John Wall. I like that. I think that's going to help them. Defensively, it's awesome, but more importantly, they have a really good playmaker they can kind of rely on during the season on offense.
Right.
So I think that's going to help them out. Big move. And those are kind of the biggest ones I got here. I mean, Drummond went to the Bulls. DeLon Wright to the Wizards.
Saw Drummond to the Bulls.
Magic held on to Mo Bamba.
Right, saw that, and also I believe the Bulls re-signed Levine.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about the either extensions or like star players re-signing because it's not a huge surprise. Oh, actually, one thing I was gonna say as far as the rumors or the buy sell hold, hearing a lot that James Harden is going to opt out.
Yeah, heard that, saw that.
So that he can take less.
Right, to get someone else to come back. I saw that.
I think that's kind of awesome. And you know what? I think James Harden is going to take next season very seriously. I think
I'm
it's going
with
to be
you.
a bit of a bounce back year for him. I think he's kind of undervalued right now.
So I was planning on doing a fantasy mock draft and posting it to the channel, and I was kind of going to make a point that I think he's a really good draft target after this news. There's also been news that he's back in the gym and like earlier than his normal scheduled routine of the summer. Like usually he doesn't get back into the gym until like end of July, from my understanding. He's already in the gym training, like working on next season. So I'm with you. I think we're going to see a bounce back year from James Harden next year, vengeance season for sure. I'm with you on that one.
And if they get PJ Tucker, which I think that's the whole point of this, that brings a lot of feistiness to that lineup and kind of gives them a backbone.
Right.
I think they lack.
And they got Tucker on a 3-year deal, didn't they? Weren't they
is
the
it
ones?
official?
I thought it was official that they landed him on a 3-year deal, but maybe I'm wrong. But that's interesting.
Fair enough.
That's
But
interesting.
either way, yeah,
And we can't
fit.
count out Philly next year. I don't think in the to even make a conference finals, because I really do believe like a healthy Embiid this year. It's a bit of a different series versus Miami. if we had the Embiid that played versus Toronto, for instance. So yeah, I'm excited for them. I'm with you. I expect big things from Harden next year. Like, I'm pretty high on him going into next season, actually. There's rumors that they might trade Tobias Harris. Thoughts on that, and what do you think the move for that is? Like, are they just trying to shed salary at this point because they're pretty loaded, so. Right? Like, they're pretty.
I think that's going to be tough to do.
And who's taking on a Tobias Harris contract of that magnitude?
Same person that's taking a Russell Westbrook contract. They're looking for the same guy, probably.
Sure. Levine re-ups with Chicago, Porter to Toronto, Bull. I saw the Pistons were able to get Bagley on a 3-year deal.
Who got Bull?
Orlando.
Oh.
2-year deal. Rubio staying in Cleveland. Oh, this is an interesting one. Gary Payton signed with the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, I like it. I like it for the Blazers.
So let's talk about this. Warriors obviously losing Payton, Porter. They're losing some pieces.
You knew it was going to happen.
Right. Are they like, we haven't heard much about what they've done, but are they in the hunt here to do, like, to make a move? Are they in the hunt to, like, clearly they're going to need space.
They're one of the teams also, I'd say, kind of low-key Durant sweepstakes.
Kind of wild, eh?
Well,
Wiggins,
yeah,
Poole.
It is wild considering he just left them, and then for them to trade it again to get him to come back, it just, on paper, doesn't make sense.
That's why, right? But besides that, I'm with
everything
you.
Else. Yeah, they got some nice assets to
Wiggins, Poole,
sure.
And some picks.
Or, I mean, think about Moses Moody,
Kuminga,
Wiseman. Those are nice. Wiseman, yeah, like those are nice pieces. Those are all nice pieces. The Nets have holes everywhere. So,
do you think Golden State explores that? Do you think, like, how likely is that?
Man, I think every team in the league is going to explore it to an extent. Now, Golden State is the only team that won the championship last year, so they are definitely not feeling that pressure.
Right.
But if they could piss off the league one more time,
why not?
I think they'd do it. Yeah, if it makes sense for them, I think they'd do it.
I
don't think Durant would go back to Golden State.
That's the thing, and I don't think that's like his. I think that's like his least favorite place to go. I think he. I think he wants to go win one by himself. But I think by himself in the aspect
fact that he doesn't want to go now makes me feel like send him there.
For sure, but I mean, he would thrive there still, you know, and and that's the last thing the league wants, man. Like, I don't want Durant back on Golden State. That shit was whack to me, bro. That shit was whack. That team's beat.
I'm all right with it. I think they're beatable.
With Durant?
Yeah.
I don't. They just won the title without him, though.
Yeah, I think they're beatable.
I don't think so, dude. Who's beating that team?
Clippers.
They might be one of the only teams that would have a shot, but I mean, I don't know.
Be fun to watch.
For sure. I mean, well, we can talk about the Clippers. Let's talk about John Wall. I think that's a really good pickup for them. What do you think of that?
I really like it.
I think that's
on defense first of all, and then
right.
The playmaking that he offers.
The playmaking, right? But
really
that seems like a glue piece to me, like a really nice glue piece.
And not just that, it makes Reggie Jackson come off the bench just like a little scorer that he should be, more natural.
Right. Better fit for sure. I know. I really like that for them. So yeah, you got Clippers getting a point guard. I mean, I guess the Celtics could compete. They just got Brogdon, right? So who am I to say there's no teams that could compete? But I don't want to see Durant go back to Golden State. Hell no, I don't want to see that happen.
Oh, I'm not saying it's what I want to see.
You just don't count it out.
I wouldn't hate it too much if it happened. I don't think it's the end of the world.
Zion re-ups on a 5-year max deal. I saw that coming. I caught some people off guard, but I mean, I saw it coming. What's your thoughts on it?
Whatever.
And I wanted to talk about the Jalen Brunson contract because to me, I really like Jalen Brunson, but doesn't this just seem like another horrible Knicks free agency move that they're going to regret in 2 years?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, especially considering that there's a guy called Kevin Durant that's kind of available right now. I mean,
right?
Yeah, I don't see why they didn't throw everything and try to get Kyrie Irving. You know,
sure. That's what I was a little surprised with too.
At least,
I mean, and they had that. They cleared all that space, and now they're a guy like Durant and Irving are available, and you sign Brunson, dude. I just you got to feel for the Knicks. Like, I don't think I like Brunson.
Feel for the Knicks, like maybe the fan base.
The fan base. Again, the poor management, poor ownership. They're like a Sacramento to me. They're in the same boat, but it's like I still feel bad for their fans. No fan base deserves this shit, bro. No fan base. But Brunson's a solid player. He's a hooper. But Is he worth 110 over 4? No.
I don't think the contract is a problem there. I think the way they're kind of working everything around making this deal as if he's going to be the savior, I think that's the problem.
Right.
The deal, it may seem like a lot right now, which it maybe is a lot right now, but the other thing is the cap's going to go up soon,
Sure.
and this deal is not going to look like is not going to look that bad anymore.
I have the Gobert trade. Just broke. Jazz are landing 4 Minnesota. Oh God, sorry. The Jazz are landing 4 Minnesota first round picks.
Wow.
And a 2022 first round pick, Walker Kessler. No D'Angelo Russell included. 4 picks. So
no cap? How is that?
I don't
No
know.
salary?
I guess Ant's on a rookie deal still.
Yeah, but Towns is making like 35. D'Lo's making like 30.
Well, Towns just signed an extension, didn't he? And
Well, how does that help?
Well, can't you have 3 max players?
Fair enough, but I don't see how they can get that money coming in. Like they didn't have cap room.
Right. Because D'Lo was making.
So there's no players involved.
It just says
Just the draft pick.
Jazz are landing 4 Minnesota first round picks, 2022 first round pick Walker Kessler, and the deal for Rudy Gobert. Nothing about D'Lo though, and I swear that would be here if in Woj's tweet if.
Interesting.
So I guess they're keeping D'Lo, Cat, Ant, and Gobert.
Maybe you know what I'm looking at their. Oh no, never mind.
But then you have guys like you said, Beasley makes a lot, like 15.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's 2022. Yeah.
Oh.
Am I looking at the right season? Yeah.
Maybe the.
What am I not seeing here?
So Kevin O'Connor just tweeted 5 firsts for Gobert. Now imagine what we see for Durant.
Yeah, I think that's just on the picks. That's way too many picks.
5 picks for Durant or for Gobert.
It doesn't make sense. That's huge. That's a. Oof.
Oh,
like
here we go.
Gobert.
Four players. Here we go.
Okay,
Here we go. Can
Beverly,
you give
Beasley.
me? I don't even see it. It just says 4 players. Maybe it's not announced yet.
If it's 4 players, it's probably not D'Angelo. It's probably
Beasley.
Beverly,
Here we go. Got it.
Beverly.
Yeah, you called it. Beasley, Beverly, Walker Kessler, Vanderbilt.
Okay. Damn, and 5 picks.
Wow. Yeah,
The
that's
5 picks is crazy.
Yeah, that's hefty. And
Utah's making out like bandits.
the Walker Kessler was a first round pick too this year.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like 6 picks.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, why wouldn't you just ship out half those picks? And
Why wouldn't you go after Durant?
that's what I'm saying. Like, why wouldn't you ship out half those picks and Anthony Edwards for Durant? Like, I know it sounds stupid. Don't want to trade Ant, but it's like, I'm sorry, man. It's Kevin Durant.
But you know what? This goes to what I was saying with why OKC is kind of a dark horse.
Right.
Because you throw enough picks at it.
Right.
It's really hard to say no, and
It
they've
gets
got
nutty.
like fucking 1 million.
Yeah, no, it gets nutty. At a certain point, it just gets nutty. Oh my god.
I remember when Boston had all of the Brooklyn picks still, and the draft where Justice Winslow was in there, and they took him at
Right.
Miami took Justice Winslow at 10, but Boston was offering them like 4 first round
Right.
picks.
What's his name? And they didn't go through, and that ended up being a
No,
huge
they said
blessing,
no. They
right?
said
It
no.
ended up being a huge blessing for the
Yeah,
Angels. Like,
imagine.
I know.
We wouldn't be talking about Danny Ainge the same way if that
Right.
one went through.
He avoided a catastrophe.
But anyway, yeah, picks are golden, I guess. Jeez, I'm a crow.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I mean, we're gonna have to see like the details. Like, that's clearly we got our players there, but that's I didn't see that one coming at all. I did not see. But I
Feel
do.
bad for Patrick Beverly a little bit. It looked like he had found a home there.
Yeah, fun in Utah, buddy.
I think he's actually gonna be a really nice fit next
With
to Donovan
Mitchell, right? Yeah, that's actually not bad.
It's a good fit for him.
So a couple more small ones we can talk about. JaVale McGee joins the Mavericks on a $20 million deal. Patty
Yeah, I like
Mills.
it. They needed that.
Mills re-signs with the Nets, and Dort re-signs with the Thunder. And Ingles joined the Bucks.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that because I don't know if he can even move.
Right.
But I guess he must be able to move.
Thoughts on Anthony Simons and the 4-year, $100 million extension with Blazers? Warranted or too much?
Well, I think
You had to
what's
pay
it,
him, but is that
4 years, 100 mil?
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably warranted.
Okay.
It's still a little early for my liking,
Right.
but the way he looks and the way it's going, I think the odds are that doesn't look like a terrible contract.
And you saw that Bamba back to the Magic.
Yeah.
No. And Batum with the Clippers again, and Oladipo back to the Heat as well. I should mention.
Yeah, yeah. I think Batum going back to the Clippers is pretty big. They're so deep, man. They're so deep. I think Clippers are really positioned well.
Sure.
Oladipo back to the Heat. I don't want to say I saw it coming, but it makes sense with the way last year went.
Right. What's your thoughts on the Lonnie Walker move for the Lakers? We didn't really talk about it, but curious on
Yeah,
your
I
thoughts
really
on
like
it.
it. I
Yeah,
really like
me too. I think it's a solid move. I think it's a very smart move.
I still think they should have gotten Malik Monk back, but
Yeah, that one
I just
hurts.
like Lonnie Walker.
I liked Malik, man. I liked Malik, but I'm happy for Malik. I think he earned. You know, he didn't get paid out the ass or anything, but I think he earned his contract for Sacramento, and he's close to LA still. He's close to where he was, and that's that's the kind of player, man. With just given what the kind of season that the Lakers had last year, and I'm a diehard Laker fan. I'm gonna watch ton of Laker games, right? And what I saw from I wish this guy nothing but the best. This to me, he's become one of these players. I liked him in Charlotte. I thought he was cool. Last year, he won me over in my books. I don't know what it is. I had him in fantasy, like waiver pick. Maybe it's that, but he's a guy now in my books that I'll always be rooting for to do well. And I just like the guy. I just think
Even if he's on the Kings now.
yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like he's just like that's he's one of those guys. Like he's on the Kings, like my least favorite team, but I'm still rooting for the guy. I want him to do well, and I'm happy for Sacramento. I'm happy for their fan
I think
base.
the Kings gonna make the playoffs this year.
Oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's contend in the play-in first. Okay, let's start with the play-in tournament. Let's baby steps here. Baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're in a better position. You know,
Yeah, you know what? If they were in the East, they probably, I would say, but in the West, the West is so strong,
right,
and it's going to get stronger with Durant.
That's what I'm thinking. So, and the East, like you got to be, if you're the Celtics or the Bucks right now, you got to be loving this. Fuck. Minus obviously if he goes somewhere in the East, like Toronto, right? But I mean, if he goes to the West, you're loving that. Okay, man. That's pretty good for buy so hold. That's most of the free. Was there any other big free agents we missed? Like obviously throughout the day
that are still available.
I
think the biggest one right now is DeAndre Ayton. What's going to happen with that?
Sure, and that's I'm sure being held off on until Durant.
Of course.
Right. So we give me your time frame on the Durant situation. How does this play out, and like how long are we waiting before we have a definitive answer?
I think probably this is going to happen within the next week. If I had to guess, that's what I would say.
Okay.
Because I just don't see any reason for this to take a lot of time. I think probably Brooklyn has already heard the best offers they're going to hear, so they're just kind of going over what's going to work out best for them.
Sure.
I could be wrong about that, but it's just a star like this. Nobody's going to come in trying to lowball.
Right.
You know, they're just like, why would you? When every team is probably interested here,
right.
If you come in with a lowball offer, you're going to lose Brooklyn's not just their interest, but just their attention. You know what I mean?
Well, I saw something kind of interesting the other day. They were talking about just the sweepstakes, and teams were calling back, re-offering better offers before they even got a response. To give you kind of an idea of the like how big this is. Like this isn't something you're gonna see maybe ever a player because of the deal too. The 4-year link, no player option, bro. Like that's the thing.
And
right?
the other thing is this Rudy Gobert trade that just went through. I think that does.
Well, that's
change it a little bit too, because how can you offer anything less than that?
Well, that's the thing. Now that's the base. But this to me now makes OKC so interesting, just because of those picks, the amount of picks they can offer, like you said.
We're the only ones that have that many. Mind you, Houston has a lot too.
Right.
But it's Brooklyn's own picks.
Right. But then
But maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe that makes sense if they're going to be dust, right? Like, who knows?
Well, yeah, they would be.
So Ja Morant and Bradley Beal did sign extensions. So did Jokic. That's something we didn't mention. Booker also re-upped.
Jokic, biggest contract in history.
Yeah,
Props.
well deserved. I mean, the back-to-back MVP probably wasn't getting any less than the Supermax. Yeah.
Yo, Denver's a team.
Interesting. Wow.
Cause tell me, how you feel about this if you're Brooklyn. Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr.
I don't think they want that salary. That's my thing with MPJ. But
No,
Murray,
you throw in. Well, why wouldn't they want MPJ?
just the contract. It's horrendous.
Well, it looks bad because he's injured,
Right.
but he's still very young.
2 back surgeries.
Very young.
Do you think they take that on? I was thinking that too, though. That's what I'm thinking.
saying. Throw that picks, maybe that Bones Highland guy.
Bones Highland, yeah. No.
And then you take back. Same thing I was saying with the Raptors. You take back Josh. What's his name? Harris?
Joe Harris.
Joe Harris.
Yeah, the unpleasant.
Because the Nets probably want to get off his contract.
They definitely do. Yeah. That's interesting. I think the big red flag for them would probably be MPJ and just the scariness of the back injury, the back surgeries, like how bad he looked last year compared to how good he looked the year before. I think that would probably scare them a little bit. And then also there's a little bit of a red flag with, not a red flag, but a cautionary, thing up with Murray. Like we haven't seen Murray. Murray was supposed to be back some point last year and he never came back. So, yeah, I'm with you. They got the assets to make it work. Is that more enticing to Brooklyn than an OG and a Siakam? I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's the best available.
No, I feel you.
Watch out for Denver.
Yeah. They're in there. They're in the talks, and I'm sure they made calls. Jokic and Durant would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would be.
It'd be a lot of fun. Who's our underdog for getting him? And I mean, we'll move back to life of the party just because it's like, okay, well, like we're clearly back to this situation, but we knew we would be. It's such a big storyline. Like, who is the so we talked about OKC. We talked like these are good teams, but there's got to be someone we're missing. There's got to be
Wizards.
Interesting. What are you thinking? KP would be, or like pair Beal and KD? Is that the idea?
I mean, I think that's where you have to think about it. Yeah.
Is he from Washington?
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if he's from Washington, D.C., but I think he's from Maryland.
Right. I remember that because I remember when he was going to Golden State, or before that when he was becoming a free agent, like Washington was one of those teams that people said might be if he wants to go home kind of thing, right? Am I crazy to think the Clippers could make a move?
For KD?
I love Paul George and Kawhi together, but how dangerous
They just don't have draft assets, I think. They need to tie on with there.
Right. But you don't think Paul George and something could get it done? Like, I love Paul George. I don't even want to see him go, but the thought of Kawhi and KD.
If you can get KD for Paul George, I think they do it in a heartbeat.
Right.
I just don't think that. I think you would need to throw 3 picks on there.
Sure.
And they just can't.
Sure.
They might be able to throw 1.
Right. And then what if Brooklyn just says, you know what, we'd rather Paul George than any of these guys? Like, maybe Paul George is incredible, bro.
Paul George and Ben Simmons is a nice fit.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. And then you got some flexibility to do other things with that team, stay competitive. I think obviously Kawhi and KD together is like scary, but I see it going so many different ways. I really don't have a prediction. I think if my number one spot would be Toronto is where I'd want to see him go. I'd love to see him in LA with Braun and Kyrie.
You know where I'd like to see him go?
Where?
But they don't have the assets. It's Dallas.
Yeah, that'd be fun, eh? But it's just
I really like that.
There's no way. There's no way. There's just nothing. There's not like because they're not trading Luka for him. And
well, no, the idea would be to pair him with
right,
Luka.
right, exactly, and that's the only asset that they could even.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Oh shit, I had one. This is crazy, bro. This is crazy, but hear me out. Do you think the Celtics could offer Brown?
I don't think that's crazy.
I think a lot of Celtics fans would call me crazy just making the finals.
Well, I don't know. I think
sweeping them, but
if I'm talking about the Raptors offering OG and Pascal, I think the Celtics.
Sure.
That's the only way they can get into that conversation.
Fair. And I mean, if you think like Let me ask you this question before you answer that, okay? If you put Kevin Durant on the Boston Celtics instead of Jaylen Brown
Hmm.
in the NBA Finals versus Golden State, do they
Yeah.
win that series? My answer is yes.
I would say even if you put him in instead of Tatum, they win that series.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's so.
Like
Then
Brown had a better finals than Tatum did.
sure, but I think you'd probably stick with Tatum over Brown at this point, would you not?
It wouldn't be a deal breaker for me.
Interesting. So to answer my question, you're saying yes. If you put Durant on that team instead of Jaylen Brown, they win the finals.
I think
I my answer
I
is
don't know if
yes,
it's definitive.
but a better chance, right?
Well, yeah.
They, is it crazy to think that now, given that they have Brogdon, who just came on board, the depth of the Boston Celtics all the way through the roster, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. I mean, you got to think.
I think everybody's offering something,
It's
man.
it's interesting, right? Like it's worth considering, but I think
Like
they're
we could literally go through every team and find out what their best offer would be.
sure, and that's the thing is like every team I'm sure is involved.
If you're the Celtics, I think you kind of have to throw one of those guys in if you're the Celtics for it to be your best offer.
Right. People are people are absolutely. I just got an update from Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
NBA Twitter can't believe the draft compensation package Minnesota is sending to Utah
It's
to
insanity.
go bridge trade. So people are like, "What is going on? Why would you pay that
I'll,
much?"
I'll
for
do
Gobert?"
respect to Rudy Gobert, but he's not worth 5 first-round picks.
Yeah, that's wild. Eh?
Are they like? Do you know more info on the picks
Don't
themselves?
have any info on the picks. The players just came out, but I'm sure we'll get info on the picks.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's crazy.
I don't think Minnesota. Did they get a lot of picks from anybody?
For
I don't
who?
think so.
Nah.
They used them to get
Oh,
D'Angelo.
the
Pretty
Wiggins
sure there were
deal?
picks. I'm pretty sure Minnesota sent picks out for that one. I don't think they got any.
Really?
Yeah, that's why they
Right,
got
because they
Wiggins
were
in
the
it.
ones initiating because Cat wanted him. So they were the ones trying to make that happen. Golden State just kind of said, fuck it, right? Like, that's a better fit for us, I think. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's weird. It's going to be interesting to see. Like, I could see this going a magnitude of different ways. Like you said, like I think there's a lot of teams in the sweepstakes. I think a lot of teams are going to get involved. Would you expect an answer sooner rather than later? Or, like, what's your thoughts
Yeah,
on
I
time
think so.
frame here, right? Because
I don't think it's going to take too long. I
it's
would
not
say within the next week.
it's not in their best interest to wait either. I don't think.
Who, the Nets?
No, yeah, exactly. No, I don't think it's in their best interest to wait. Like too long. Probably in their best interest to give it a few days, but not to wait.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it hurts them too much.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, you want to get it done like for the team
Right.
before the season starts,
And
obviously.
right, and also just
But I
thinking
don't think
like,
his trade value drops if we
well,
get to the season.
I'm just thinking if they can capitalize on the excitement of people being like, "Fuck it, we'll give you Siakam and OG," or we'll give, you know what I mean? You capitalize on a team saying, "Fuck it, we're going." You know, like that's maybe what they're waiting for is a team to just. They're probably gone to every single package and said, "This is what we want." Booker, boom, they add a piece and then they say whatever team says yes is the team we'll do it with. Like they probably go, let's make this unreasonable. The Jazz gathered 6 first-round picks in the past 24 hours, including 7-footer Walker Kessler. Oh my god. So yeah, I don't know.
Oh, Walker Kessler, that's who that is.
Yeah.
He's a good fit for them.
Interesting.
I remember him now.
Okay, so we lost the first bit of the segment. I am going to try to piece them together in post. It might take me a little longer to upload to YouTube today, so just bear with me, guys. If you do watch on the YouTube, we've been getting good amount of people watching on there over the streams. So this will be pieced together. Is there any stuff you want to touch on before we wrap today? We kind of touched on, we didn't go through every single team in the Durant sweepstakes. We obviously touched on that. We touched on a lot of free agency stuff, some party fouls that we thought, teams screwed up on. Bit of a different format today, so we're hang in there, guys. Like we're getting used to it, and it will become more natural as the weeks go on. We'll have this kind of down to a T a little bit more. But is there anything that you wanted to add on here before we cut? Anything you want to talk about? Any situation scenarios that we've missed? Any big news that we've missed? Obviously, something broke live, which is always fun. But is there anything you wanted to touch on before we wrap today's show?
I don't think so. I think we touched on a lot today. I hope we get that convo in at the start there.
Yeah,
'Cause that was a good one.
I will as opposed to just uploading them, I'll try to export them to my PC and edit them together. It shouldn't be too much work. It's just like cutting and trimming. Just got to figure out how to do it on Twitch. But yeah. So yeah, guys, with that said, thanks for watching today's episode. A lot of good stuff covered. This time next week, I'm sure we'll have a lot more info on more deals, more trades, and of course the Durant sweepstakes. So we'll probably get into a big segment next week on the depth of that, especially if a trade happens, because we'll be speculating, obviously, maybe more moves to come, or now that this is over with, other teams have moves that they're ready to make now. So there's going to be a lot ahead in the next few weeks. NBA offseason has never been more exciting. Seems like every year we say that, but look where we are. Kevin Durant, 4 years left on his deal, asking for a trade, right? So a lot to come, a lot to look forward to. And yeah, man, good episode overall. We'll see you here back next Friday at 3.
It's a block party, baby.
It's the block party. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.